right, what's up, everybody? This is another episode of the Individual Skills Hockey Podcast. I had so much fun recording this episode yesterday. Our special guest was Cory Laylin, who's the assistant coach at the University of St. Thomas men's hockey team. And I was so excited to talk to Cory because he's really done everything in the sport of hockey. He's now coaching at the Division I level. He's coached at the D3 level. He's coached pro overseas in Europe. He's coached high school. He's coached youth hockey. He's done skills nights at St. Michael Albertville youth hockey. And he played for the Golden Gophers back in the 90s. So he has seen it all, and I think he brings a very unique perspective for parents and players that are kind of going through the process right now, and has so much good information in this episode. There's a couple things I wanted to highlight. Number one, we talk about multi-sport athletes, and I asked Cory, the cliche is that high-level coaches do want those multi-sport athletes into their high-level D1 programs. And I asked him if that was true, and he said it was. And he actually had a really interesting story about one of their players this year named Jake Ratzlaff. And he played 1 year of Division I football at Wisconsin, actually, and then made the transition back to hockey. So that's an extreme example of multi-sport athletes that probably won't apply to most people out there. But what he said was, because of Jake's experience, he is more coachable now, having dealt with different styles of coaching through high-level football, now into hockey. And the other thing he said is that Jake's experience really helps their guys deal with adversity, whether that be in the weight room or a battle day at practice. He kind of jokes with the guys that it's 10 times harder on the football field. So having that experience for him really helps their team. And then also it helps Jake with his developed athletic sense, which we talk about all the time. So that's one thing that was really interesting from the episode. The other thing that I thought was really interesting, obviously Cory coached at Hamlin as a head coach, and we talked about how players out east in his experience have kind of a plan A of getting a Division I scholarship and then eventually living out their dream to play pro hockey. So everyone has that plan A, but kids out east also have a plan B laid out. If that stuff doesn't work out, they have a plan where they're going to go play Division III hockey, or they're going to go play club hockey somewhere. And comparing that to Minnesota kids, what Cory said was a lot of Minnesota kids don't have that plan. They might try juniors for a year or two. If it doesn't work out with a Division I offer, a lot of times they'll just hang them up. And what I wanted to get across in this episode is there's so much positives that can come from continuing to keep hockey in your life at the college level, that I think more players from Minnesota should have that plan B kind of in the back of their head so that they can experience that awesome opportunity to continue to play in hockey, whether that be at the D3 level or club hockey, which is awesome. Cory talks about how when you get to school, maybe as an older 20, 21-year-old, after playing juniors, if you have a hockey team to be, they act as your family. And that is just so valuable for later on in life and also your college experience. So those are the two things I wanted to highlight from the episode. Again, this is Cory Laylin, assistant coach at the University of St. Thomas. Hope you enjoy it. All right, here we go. This is the Individual Skills Hockey Podcast, a podcast that aims to bring quality education to youth hockey coaches, parents, and players with the mission of having a positive impact on the crazy youth hockey world. I'm your host, Miles Deeth, and again, we are with Ben Monahan for another episode. You're kind of becoming my co-host, which kind of crept up on me. I'm not sure how that happened.
Yeah, I don't either, but I'm waiting for a contract maybe to sign or any sort of formal agreement on it, but I'm enjoying it every time I'm here, Miles, so thank you for having me.
And our special guest today is Cory Laylin, who's the assistant coach at University of St. Thomas. Cory, thanks for being here.
Hey,
we
thanks
really
for having
appreciate.
me.
Yeah, this
Cool.
is going to be awesome. So, when Ben mentioned that it would be possible to get you on the podcast, I was excited because, I feel like you've done so much in the hockey world. You've coached at the D1 level, you coached at the D3 level, you've coached national teams, you've been involved in youth hockey, raising sons in the game too. So I think you have a unique perspective on all of this stuff. So why don't you just give us a quick introduction of kind of your background and
Okay, cool.
All that stuff. I know
Yeah.
that might take a while.
I've been at it a long time. I grew up in St. Cloud. I was fortunate enough to play at the University of Minnesota. Played World Juniors as a forward. All this youth hockey. When I grew up, I was a forward, and I was drafted by the Penguins as a forward. And then when I went to, I played 16 years as a pro in Europe, and I played in the minors here, back and forth. But I transitioned my game from a forward to a D. I played defense my whole pro career, which kind of gives me a different perspective when it comes to coaching and my love and passion for the game. I think being a D really opened my eyes to a lot of different things and a whole new appreciation of the game. And then while I was playing in Europe, my wife and I, we had 3 sons, and my first son was born in Germany, and he's playing for us at the University of St. Thomas right now. Luke is his name, and my middle son is Casey, and he's playing in Salmon Arm. He's also committed to us at St. Thomas. He was born in Switzerland, and then my third one was Bodie is his name, and he plays up at North Star Christian Academy. He's a 2007 born kid, and he was born in the States here, and then he's spent time in Germany and Italy throughout my coaching path. But so that's a little bit of the way I started, and then the coaching bug kind of caught me, and I coached in the North American League in Brookings. Was a coach and GM there for a while, kind of cut my teeth and learned a little bit of the junior hockey game. I coached pro in Italy for a year, coached a little bit in Germany. So I got the pro game kind of aspect, and the agency advising piece was kind of interesting during that time. And then I came back and I coached a little bit at high school. I coached a year with Mike McMillan at Buffalo High School. Then I was fortunate enough, to start with, I guess I was an assistant at Hamlin for a couple of years with Scott Bell, who's a former Gopher teammate of mine. I was his scout with the Maple Leafs, but Scotty kind of got me into it too. And then I ended up getting the head job at Hamlin, so it kind of got me back to the city here and got my kids back into school, and it was kind of good to go on that path. And during that whole deal was through the whole youth hockey experience with doing skills and all these type of things, and coaching from mites all the way up through bantams, and you learn a lot from those years. There's just a lot of things you can learn with how to talk to kids, how to talk to parents, the landscape, and then learn from guys like Ben. And I mean, there's a lot of experiences that you kind of you don't really think about, like how big are the teams, and how many hours you need for practice, and how much time off do you need. I mean, all those little things that you don't really think about. So those are some of the things that kind of influenced me, and I'm just fortunate enough to still be in the game.
Yeah. So you've seen so many players go through all stages of development, and everyone kind of has their thing in development. If you could kind of sum up what your biggest philosophy on the best way to develop young players, what would that be? Like, what's kind of your thing, most important thing to focus on for especially the younger players?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's an interesting question, because there's so many different facets. Like, there has to be a fun factor. You got to want to come to the rink every day, and if you don't come to the rink every day with joy and excitement to come back, I don't think you really get better. I think that athleticism is important. You got to learn to be an athlete. You got to do all the other sports. When you do decide to be more specific, and you need discipline, you need character. You got to have all those aspects that are going to help you to have fun within all those type of disciplines. You got to have fun within that, and you got to learn to be a good teammate. You can get really specific when it comes to skills. Like, I'm a skating guy, I'm a stick handling skills guy. I think that's super important, but you don't get better unless you really enjoy the work, that you enjoy the grind, you enjoy the being with your teammates. All that kind of stuff, I think, really brings your game to another level because everybody's going to hit plateaus in their developmental career. I think it's kind of, you're going to go hard, then you kind of you peak for a bit, and then you're going to take another step. I think those things are really important when young kids are developing, and it's important for parents to realize too that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and it's a whole lot of enjoyment in that.
I've learned so much from you, Cory, over the years with my son playing for you, growing up in St. Michael, and so him learning and me learning different coaching things from you. But Miles had asked me kind of what is your thing, what's your go-to thing when it comes to the development side, and I told Miles, I said, one thing Cory always said was have a puck on your stick. So I remember every drill the kids would do in skill sessions, it would always involve a puck on their stick. Very rarely were they doing a drill without a puck on their stick at some sort of time. So in your experience, Cory, what are the most common misconceptions about how players develop, in your opinion? The most common misconceptions about how players develop?
Well, I think I'm kind of a guy, like you said, like I want a puck on your stick, but you don't have to over stick handle. I think under stick handling is really a skill that people have to be comfortable with the puck on your stick, but you don't have to always be doing your dekes and always be moving. Another misconception, more isn't always better. I think sometimes walking away from something is important too for a while. Like take a break, put your stuff away. You can train, you can do your stuff, go through your season, but I think it's really important to put your equipment away, go do something else, go on vacation, go on a fishing deal, go hang out with your friends, do what you need to do, and then when you grab your equipment again, you take another step. I think it's an important thing, and I do think that a lot of times in the youth hockey world, sometimes the bigger kids, the kids that get more ice time, whatever, they're the flash in the pan. They're like, oh boy, these kids are great, but it's a long process, and I think that the small kids that have to work through it sometimes can become better players. If you're bigger, young, sometimes you got to really focus on, learning how to check, learning how to go through the hands, learning how to do things that you just can't get away with because you're bigger. So if you're a bigger athletic kid, keep working on your skills, because I think that everybody's going to catch up physically, and then you have to really, it'll come out in the wash at the end. So. And the younger, the smaller kids too, they have to work harder just to keep up with the bigger kids, and sometimes the smaller kids, when they end up growing, will bypass those other kids.
It's funny you say the take a break thing, because I remember up in St. Michael, so Miles, we learned from Maple Grove is where we stole it from, where obviously hockey people steal everything from someone else, but over the holidays we took, I think 7 days off over the holidays up in St. Michael, just shut down hockey for 7 days if you weren't playing in a tournament or games were scheduled already or whatever. But if not, your team was shut down between the holidays. And boy, I remember the flack we got from people like, oh my gosh, how do you stop hockey for 7 days, 5 days? The kids are not going to develop, they're done. But it was one of the best things ever to just let kids go be with their families and let coaches go be with their families and just come back after the new year.
Well, I think to touch on that, the kind of timing of things, and you mentioned some early puberty kids are a flash in the pan. I think a common thing that we see is labeling kids at Squirts as a really high-end player, which what does that even mean, right? Is there really high-end Squirts, or are they just whatever? So
a little bit more developed earlier, or more refined earlier. But yeah. I couldn't agree more. It is such a long journey, and it's so cool to see when kids are late bloomers. No, they're just being kids, and they're playing, and they don't really see it like the adults see it. They see it through their glasses and their eyes. So just as long as they're enjoying it, having fun, and wanting to come back to the rink every day, you never know who's going to come out at the end. And it's so hard, because as parents and as adults, we see it so differently.
Yeah. So you mentioned taking a break. Kind of leads into youth sports specialization. I think it's becoming more and more common to see kids quit other sports when they're 12U, 13U. In your position as a Division I college coach, the common thing we always hear is that you guys want multi-sport athletes into your program. I think a lot of people don't believe you when people say that. So is that true, that you really do want multi-sport athletes? And what advice do you have to parents on balancing that type of decision on the timing of when you are going to specialize?
Yeah, and that's a good question. There's no straight out answer for that, but I truly believe a well-rounded athlete can can adjust to situations at our level when you need them to adjust. And I think that sometimes that with kids specialized too early, it's a little bit more difficult for them to athletically make a switch, because decision making is just as important as skating and stick handling and shooting. Like, decision making is an athletic thing, so your mind is trained. So if it's football or baseball or basketball or lacrosse, you still have to make those quick decisions. And I think that your skills are more refined, and then you throw at them with a different sport, and you continue to enhance your athleticism. And the wear and tear on your joints and all those other things, science has kind of showed us that, you know, when you get to the next level and your body's already banged up, it's difficult. So we have a player on our team this year, Jake Ratzloff, who's, I think a lot of you people might know, but he was a high-end hockey player, basketball or baseball player, and football player, and he was a Division I football player, linebacker at Wisconsin, and he also had a full scholarship offer to Minnesota. He was committed as a young player, and he's with us right now. And you know, for him, I think it was a great experience for him as a young boy to play with his friends all the way through in all the sports. And I think it's kind of made him more rounded as an athlete now, transitioning back to hockey. He's stepped right in. He's played for us. I mean, his body's a little bit banged up from football, and he just had season-ending injuries on his hips. But we're looking forward to getting him back, and we think that his ability to jump back in our lineup next year will be really high, and we're excited to have him back. And he'll have a full summer to work out. But as far as, I mean, he's a great one to be on any of these podcasts or any of these deals. I was telling him he'd be great to sit on a panel and talk about his experience, because nowadays everybody thinks that they have to specialize at a young age, and I just think it's important to be well. And there is a time when you're ready that this is my sport and I'm going to go after it. But I think at a younger age, kids got to be kids.
Well, talk about the coachability aspect to it as well, because you mentioned, I mean, he played high-level football. He's getting a different style of coaching, and now he's going into a new program at super high-end hockey, at Division I hockey, and now he's going to have a different style of coach there too. So
he's been a great addition to our team, and it's interesting because when he's in the weight room, and he's been at the University of Wisconsin lifting weights with the football program for 2 years and the coaching staff, he goes, "Man, you think you're hard on us?" It's like nothing.
Yeah.
Like, this is like nothing. So he's an interesting one, and he's a good leader in our room. He's been there, done that, had to go through the grind. He's ran out under the tunnel with 110,000 people at the, you know, and for him to transition back to hockey and to talk to the guys about his experience and his toughness about how to deal with battling through some of our battle days, and that's really nothing for him. And it's like he's still learning. He's still a developing hockey player, which is great because he's got to go through a lot of challenges with us too, with guys that are a little bit above him. But he's going to put in the work, and he wants to be an NHL hockey player. And I truly believe that if he stays healthy, he's going to have an opportunity at some point to get a chance.
I love that.
So, Cory, you've been coaching for quite some time, various levels, like you explained when you introduced yourself. Has your opinion on the ways to best develop players changed over time?
It's interesting. Like, I'm always learning, so I love to cheat and steal and watch and study, and I think social media has been a good thing for all coaches to learn and get different ideas, and there's no right and wrong. And I'm not going to be sitting here and tell you that this is the best way or that's the best way, but I do believe that the mental part of the game is so important, and learning from other players that you play with, you play against. I think that the mental component, I think the game is 90% above your shoulders, where if you can understand the game and the hows and the whys, I think that the other part you can work on, the physical part, and I think the technical part you can work on. But if you live the game, I don't know how many of our young players watch hockey and love hockey, are always hockey's just ingrained in them all the time. I don't know if they come to all the high school games, if they come to all the college games, or watch NHL and they got the NHL network cooking. But if they do and it's in them, I think that's a major bonus for anyone to really understand, you know, each zone and all the intricacies of the game. Like I grew up in St. Cloud, I didn't know anything about hockey, but I would cheat and steal from the best players that I played with around.
Yep.
And you know, you guys are so fortunate now, these kids growing up with social media, they can emulate, they can cheat, and they can steal, and they can try to do the plays that they learn, and I think it's great.
So you talk about the mental side of it, and I was anticipating you saying, because I remember you talking to our kids back in the day about how much you learn by just watching the game and going home and turning on the NHL game or watching college or getting to the high school game. So I'm glad you said that. But is there any other way for parents out there that their kids can learn the mental side of the game? I remember Minnetonka did something. Goldie ran do they still do that? The Intelligent. Are there other things out there that you would recommend to parents for kids that want to learn the mental side of the game besides just watching hockey?
You know, I don't really know that part, but I do think that any of those things I think are interesting, at least to check out. And maybe it's too much for some kids because they got school, they got practice, they got this, they got that. Maybe it's too much. I don't know, but I just think that there is a piece right there that everybody can do. I remember going to sleep listening to the radio on TV, listening to the North Stars or whatever, and I know a lot of other people had some form of influence that they had, but when it's in your heart, in your mind, you're thinking about it all the time, your brain is creative, it can spur different emotions and different things where kids can really take big developmental steps, in my opinion, that gets them excited to come to the rink.
Yeah,
and that's just another piece of it.
Well, I think also something that's changed is the rise of mental coaches. Actually, somebody you go see, I think in the past it was somebody you went and saw if you had a big issue, a big behavioral issue, but now they're being utilized to actually increase and improve your performance. So
100%.
Do your guys at the University of St. Thomas utilize any of those types of resources?
They are available. I don't know specifically which guys are using them, but there are definitely there are some. We don't have anybody. Well, I mean, we have some seminars and stuff sometimes our kids click in on and watch, and we have different coaches that have talked to us as a staff, that NHL coaches, that we pass on to our kids about different tips and those type of things. And I know I spend time in Switzerland, and I know almost every single player in Switzerland had their own personal mental coach, and there are different services you can get that I mean, a lot of advisors use them, and I know it's out there right now, so I'm just not as well versed in that, but it is out there.
Yeah. All right, so kind of wrap up the youth hockey portion of this. You've run successful AAA programs, most notably, I think, the Euro-American program based in the northwest suburbs here in the Twin Cities. Looking back on that, what would you tell parents nowadays on whether or not to sign up for these programs, how much is too much, decisions around whether or not to do AAA hockey, I would say?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. It depends on the program. It depends on the ice time. The time allocation is important too. If kids are going to play baseball or soccer, I know that some programs they don't allow you to do another sport. We always did at Euro-American. That was our whole thing, is we want kids to be well-rounded athletes. So if they missed for baseball or for soccer or lacrosse, it's totally fine. But we wanted it to be fun. We wanted it to be fun, and we did it in the spring, and we had hockey schools in the summer if they wanted to come, and then we had a little bit in August, and we did some. When Brock Faber and Kukinens and the Janikis, when those guys came through, and the Brasinis and the Kosteleckis, we had all kinds of good, fun families that we had. We would do baseball. And Cal Thomas, because Tim was a really good baseball player. We did weekend baseball sometimes. We'd have the kids to get together, do some sandlot baseball, and it was good because it built relationships. And to this day, it's been, we still see those guys. Yeah. It's really fun. I mean, at the end of our Euro-American journey, 2 different times, we did a trip to Europe, and we did a fun little deal, and those are some of the trips that the kids still talk about today. So there's more than just hockey. It's about relationships and enjoying this time in your life, because you snap your fingers and it's gone, and your kids are older and they're gone. So for parents out there, I mean, I'm telling you what, like, enjoy this time, because it goes fast.
Yeah. Is there any indicators you would say to recognize maybe the risk of burnout happening in your player when you're doing all this AAA stuff and clinics? And is there anything that you can advise for parents to notice that maybe we're getting into the too much territory?
Yeah, no, I think one thing that I think in the AAA world that gets really blown out of proportion is wins and losses. And I think that, I mean, I can't tell you the record of any of the teams that I ever coached, or what my kids' teams' records were. I don't remember any of them. And to me, it doesn't matter. It's all about, did they get better during the summer? Did they have fun? Did they want to come back? And all those things kind of add up into the whole journey of your kid, and actually for yourself too, because it's a burnout for yourself as a parent. Like, you want to make sure that you enjoy it, and you stay away from some of the other people that don't make it as enjoyable, because nobody's getting a scholarship at whatever, at the mites, where nobody's getting a scholarship.
That's not what parents think, though. I mean, is it?
No one is getting a scholarship, I hate to tell you. And
that's a perfect transition. Should we get into the college hockey recruiting
I'd love
side
to.
of today now, too?
Gosh.
So, I mean,
I think there's a lot of things that people don't understand.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you started your coaching career at the D3 level at
Yeah.
Hammond, like you mentioned, assistant coach, and then moved up to head coach, and I know that's when you moved back from Brookings, you said. What do people out there, what don't they realize about the D3 recruiting process, and how kind of overall quality level of play at D3? I think Minnesota has maybe a misunderstanding of how good D3 hockey is, but how does the recruiting process work at D3, and then how good is D3 hockey?
All right. Well, that's a really good question. And Division III hockey, it's interesting because it's college hockey, and college hockey, the coaches at Division III, they get paid to win for their institution. They get paid to get great student athletes. So they want to have a good character kid. They want a kid that's really good in the classroom, and a kid that represents their university the right way. But they also want to win. So coaches are working hard to find those players, and they track those players through high school, and there's very few that will go right from high school to Division III. Most players have to go to junior hockey. Everybody has to go through that junior hockey route, and like it or not, whatever the process is, it's just coaches have to win. So if you're going to get a kid that's 18 or you're going to get a kid that's 21, I think everybody that wants to win a game is going to get a kid that's 21, because your most talented 18-year-old, he's probably on a fast track to Division I. So I'm telling you, at the Division III level, kids work hard and they battle, and it's a fast brand of hockey. So if you haven't seen it, maybe check it out. And if you're a high school player and think that I'm just going to step in and play Division III, you have to make the team. It's tough.
I got to tell you a story because it just leads right into it. We were up in Hockey Day, Minnesota, in Warroad, and we practiced on Friday in the outdoor rink, and Concordia Moorhead played St. Olaf right after. So our guys are just kind of hanging around while the Concordia guys are walking out for their game. And I heard a couple of them actually say out loud to each other, "Do you guys think we could beat Concordia?"
Oh.
And it was, and the coaches were standing there, and we're really disappointed that they would say something like that. But it speaks to like how much people don't know about how good the level of play is. So
It's true. They play hard, I'm telling you, and it's maybe the skill level is a little bit less, and but the work ethic, the college athlete piece, being a student athlete, there's great schools. You're going for the same. I mean, when I coached at Division III, we had, I think, 45 or 47 players during my time go on and play pro hockey. So guys, if they want to, they develop, they figure it out. It's a tough brand of hockey. So, and then, you know, conversely at Division I level, it's we recruit on the same level, but we pick out the different kids. So it's just the way it is. And some of the really, really good Division I kids, maybe they're a better fit at Division III. So it kind of meshes together. But, the high-end skill kids go on in the Division I level.
Yeah. I just had a quick question on, you mentioned the junior hockey route is basically required for both D1 and D3 these days. I think in a community such as Wayzata, because it's what I know, there's a lot of pressure to begin your working career sooner and not delay that by a couple of years by playing junior hockey. And with a kid not having a guarantee on a scholarship, I think a lot of kids actually do hang them up because they think they might not make it to D1 and they don't really value the opportunity that a D3 path could give them. So what would you say to those types of kids that are deciding whether or not to play the 2 years of juniors and kind of go for it?
Well, I mean, I've seen it as a coach and I've seen it as a recruiter, but I think it's really important for kids to get out of your high school and go try something for a year. You don't even, you mature physically, but you mature more mentally, and you're so much more ready to go into college after 1 year. And if you don't like it after 1 year, go ahead and you can go into college and you can play club hockey. Club hockey is an awesome avenue too for a lot of players too. And you know, everybody has their own journey, and I mean, if it's club or D3 or Division I, you're there to get your education and you're there to mature as a young individual, and it's each path is unique and awesome in each of their ways. So it's hard at each level. So it's funny when people think, I think that if you want to play hockey and keep it in your life, give junior hockey a chance and try it out and see if hockey's really where you want to go, because you got one crack at it. This window in your life is small, and once you close it, you close it.
I think the biggest thing for that is, you mentioned it, is coming into school as a 20 or 21-year-old. Even if you're not playing hockey, you are going to do so much better in school.
Totally.
Life decisions, everything. Because I was one of those kids, actually. I chose golf for my college career because of the non-guarantee to earn a Division I scholarship in hockey, because I didn't want to play 2 years of junior hockey. And looking back, it's like, if I was a 21-year-old freshman at XYZ school, not even playing sports, I would have done way better.
It's so true, and a lot of parents think, oh, if my kid steps away from school, he's going to lose all of everything he learned in school. No, that's not the way it is at all, because what we see is when the kids come back into college after taking a break for a year or two, like, they're excited to get back into school, and it's amazing how hard they work to get back at it, and we haven't seen any slips at all. It's been great.
Nice.
So we'll get into the D1 recruiting side here pretty soon, but talk to us about the D3 recruiting process, Cory. Like, obviously as a Division III team, you know, you said they watch them in high school, but I'm assuming those are hard conversations to have with kids, because kids who are juniors and seniors, that's not their goal, right, to play D3. They still have the D1 dream. So how does the D3 recruiting process work? When do you start watching kids versus the D1 process?
Well, we talk to a lot of high school coaches, and we start building relationships to say, hey, if your plan A doesn't work, Division I doesn't work, you got to have a plan B. And out east, like, it's funny, like out east, all the Division I kids, not all, but most of the majority of Division I kids out there, they have a plan B already with their division. Out west here, it's plan A or nothing. And it's okay. It's totally okay. And there's some really, really good players that, for whatever reason, scholarships get you get squeezed out, and because of COVID, because of transfer portal, the plan A doesn't always land. It doesn't mean you're a lesser player. There's playing college hockey is college hockey. So.
What do you think the reason for that is? I mean, we have 6 Division I teams in Minnesota, and then you have North Dakota, you have Augustana, you have all these Division I teams here with the state of hockey. But why do you think it's different out east where they have that plan B? In Minnesota kids, I feel like the stereotype of a Minnesota kid is they're too good to go play D3, even though we have one of the best Division III conferences in the state, or in the country, and you have a fantastic Division III conference over in Wisconsin. So are there any reasons that stand out to maybe why out east kids do that versus Minnesota kids?
I think there's a lot of hockey, or a lot of academies out there. There's so many, just like Shattuck's, or those type of schools are out there, and there's high-end institutions, and they kind of teach them that this is what you need to have. You need to have your backup plan in case it doesn't work, and I don't understand either why people don't think Division III is good, because these are hard-working college athletes.
Correct.
And once they get a peek at it, they're like, huh, that's not so bad. Well, these guys are pretty big and strong.
Yeah.
Actually, they are committed athletes. So,
and you're getting a fantastic education at the same time.
You're getting a great education. You're getting ready to jump into the real world.
Yeah.
And you can still have hockey in your life.
Yeah.
I mean, what a great thing. It's your immediate family, whatever, if you're a club or you're Division III or Division I, there's your family right there to socialize and enjoy your college, education.
So I'm going to switch gears really quick. You've had the opportunity to coach several USA national teams. Just tell us about those experiences and what that was like.
Yeah, I think I was really fortunate to just get involved with USA Hockey, and it kind of evolved where they gave me an opportunity to coach at the Five Nation Cup level and the Holinka level. I was the head coach on both and assistant coach on both, and it was just it was a great experience for me to learn from other people too. I mean, at the USA Hockey level, we all get together and we network, and the network is probably the biggest growth for us as coaches. And we sit and we talk hockey nonstop. So it's good for each of our development, but to deal with the kids at the higher level, for me as a recruiter, to get to know these kids from each level I've been really fortunate to have that, because that helps me in my recruiting and being able to categorize where kids land, the styles of play. I can tell you by watching one game, I can tell you who's from Michigan, who's from out east, who's from Minnesota. I mean,
well, that's interesting.
In a way, the style of play is different.
Let's press on that, actually, because I'm curious. What's the style of play of a Minnesota high school player?
Of a Minnesota high school player, I can tell you, are very high skilled. For the most part, less physical, but more highly skilled than other areas in the country. I think that they can really go. And of course, there's other kids. There's kids from Texas now, kids from Phoenix now. There's kids from everywhere. But the Minnesota kids, as a group, when they come out to national camp, they can really go. They represent really well. And you look at the Michigan kids. I mean, they play so many games. You can tell that they're game ready. Like, they play like 80 some games a year on their AAA teams, and you can tell they have all the little game savvy things. But you look at it and you can see deficiencies in their stride and some of their stick handling and some of their decision making, but they stop at the net, they finish their checks, they do all the things that a more seasoned veteran game seasoned player would be. So I don't know, you kind of see that. And the Eastern kid, you can just, they're kind of a combination of the two. They're well educated, you can tell they're smart kids. And it's fun to see them integrate with each other too.
Yeah.
Like, it's been really good how they separate them or they put them all together. They used to be separated back in the old days, and now at 17s they kind of do that again. They're trying to go back at that. But
what is your greatest memory being part of the USA teams that you coached?
Oh boy, I don't know. It's like just to be a part of such great staffs and be in and listening to some of the big moments. I don't know. The biggest heartbreaker was the Holinka USA Canada game that we should have won the game, and they called it back, which was a heartbreaker for USA Hockey, and Canada should have made it right, and they didn't. But whatever.
Yeah.
It's all development for our kids, and we had some really great players, and it's just good to be a part of those guys. I mean, I've got a chance to deal with really high-end guys and to see their character. I think that's a really good part. Everybody thinks they're just great players. Well, they're even better people. They look you in the eye, they shake their hand, shake your hand, and they want to know about you, which is pretty cool. Like, everybody thinks that the best kids just are the arrogant kids, or those guys kind of fall off, and the really good ones kind of rise to the top.
So the way we have these questions lined up, Miles, you have me using the word misconception twice today. I don't think I've used that word more than twice in the last
is that too big for
2
you?
years? Yeah.
Armstrong High School?
Armstrong education. We never use the word misconception. What are the most common misconceptions about the D1 recruiting process?
Well, I think
or scouting process.
Maybe that everybody gets a full ride, or everybody it's
doesn't
easy.
It work that way?
Well, I'll tell you what. At the Division I level, kids work extremely hard, and it's even harder than Division III. So I'll put it there, because at the Division I level, you grind every ounce you have to win a game, and I know you do at Division III, but it's like the time commitment that we have at the rink. For us at St. Thomas, we start practice early, so we're there at 7:30 in the morning. We stay till about 11:30 or noon. Classes start up at noon. They go to class, they do their study hall. They're in bed by probably 8 or 9 with gas, and we start the whole thing over. Like when it comes time, when the season's over, they get to be regular students for a few weeks, which they're like, oh, there's other people here. But they work so hard, and I'm impressed with the camaraderie that they get through the hard work, through the grind, and they've all grown. So with our group, we had a really big freshman class last year, so those guys will basically be our first recruiting class, and to see how those guys have grown together through the adversity has been pretty cool.
So you mentioned that every kid gets a D1 scholarship. That's one of the biggest misconceptions. What is the scholarships that each team gets? And then maybe talk briefly, where are you guys at with St. Thomas? Are you at the full amount now, or when you first started D1, you were not at the full amount, correct?
Right. So every institution has their, I'd say almost every single institution has 18 scholarships a minimum. Some this year still have a carryover from COVID, I think. It's the last year. And then, so for us at St. Thomas, like we started 3 years ago. This is our third season. So our first year that we were there, we had 3 scholarships. One that was on a fairly high denomination. He had a season ender, so we basically played with 2 scholarships all year. And then the last year we had 10 scholarships. Then we're at 15 this year, and next year we'll be at full 18. And that's per our institution. Like that's what we chose to do, to keep our classes the same, to slowly work into where we are, to build our culture, which has been awesome because we're getting kids that want to be at St. Thomas, that aren't coming in on full athletic scholarships, that want to be here, be back home. And it's been a great way of building our culture and our guys. We know they want to be here. Yeah. So we'll be at full tilt next year, which is great. And then what a lot of people don't understand either about scholarships is that there's the merit scholarship as well for having good academics. Yeah. So if you do well in your school, you get a significant scholarship, and you're able to play on your team if the coach gives you a roster spot. Like we have roster management, we can only have so many players on our team, and every school can make any rule they want per their athletic director. So we've got some kids that are doing a heck of a job that they have to fit in the scholarship bracket that we're in.
Yeah. So I'm curious on the scouting process of players that you might be interested in. Take us through kind of the timeline of a kid comes onto your radar for whatever reason. How many times are you watching that player as a staff, and then eventually getting to making an offer to that player?
That's a good question.
How long is that process?
That's a good question. And you know what? We're watching high school games all the time. We're watching HP stuff. We're tracking players, so we're talking to advisors and other people to kind of get people's, get people that we know are on our radar and we can get eyes on them. And as a staff, we try to watch as much as we can. We're out there every Tuesday, Thursday, and on the weekends as much as we can. And we have computer programs where we watch shifts. We can watch all their shifts. And once we're interested in a player and he's the type of player we're looking at, we'll typically just reach out and say hi and talk to the high school coach and see, get to know them as people before, we have them on campus, and we'll gauge their interests, and then we'll say, hey, do you want to come on and check it out? We'll start, building a relationship with those kids, and hopefully they bring their family on, and we get to know the parents as well. And it's really important to get to know the true package, because if we're going to marry this person, we're going to be with those people for the longevity, hopefully, of their career. And we don't want to go into the transfer portal. We don't want to do that. We could possibly do it here or there just for a one year person, but we want to build our culture by 4-year kids. So we start building that relationship with the kid, and then we'll have him on campus, and if we feel, we'll keep watching him, and if we feel that he's a guy that's going to fit in our program. I mean, we have our team built out 4 or 5 years down the road, and what we're looking at for, every team has their own needs, and I won't share our needs or what we're looking at. But those type of things, when you want to build your team, like you got to have size, you want to have speed, you want to have skill, you want to have goaltending, you got to have all those pieces, and so every player is not the same. And just because we don't go to the top scorer on every team, like we want guys that will translate to be hard to play against. And when you have a team that's hard to play against, you have a chance to win.
Yeah, and I ask too because I think there's a lot of players that are having really good seasons and they're a high-end player in the state, and they're kind of looking around like, why has no one reached out?
Right.
But it's it might be coming, but they don't need to get anxious about it, about the lack of interest.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And a lot of times too, like coaches want to see how a player deals with adversity, because every time you get a kid that's a top scorer that's tearing it up, and everybody's talking about this kid. Well, how has he done when he's not going to be a first-line guy? Like, we want to see how that player responds in adverse situations as well. And I know it's not everybody that goes to play junior hockey that goes through unscathed. It's difficult, and that adversity builds to who you're going to have later on down the road.
What are some non-hockey things? I know how you're going to probably answer this as I've known you for the last 5-7 years of learning from you, but what are some non-hockey things that cross a kid off your watch list at St. Thomas or just in general?
Well, you want someone that has a mentality of team first and really cares about other people, and someone that's disciplined, someone that's reliable, that has integrity, that when you ask him to do something, he's going to do something. He's not going to shrug his shoulders and say, I don't know what you're talking about, or I don't know, do this. No, we want somebody that says, yes, sir, let's go, let's do it, and does it with that has joy. So we look at character, we look at kids that are reliable in the classroom. It's so important, because if you're not at least a solid student, it wears on you athletically, it wears on you socially. So if you can't be good socially and you can't be good academically, it's going to hurt your athletics. So those 3 are our pillars, and if you struggle in any one of those, we're going to try our best to help you out. But we want to know, is this school the right fit for you? Is it, or do you want to be in Minnesota? Do you want to go out east? Do you want to go out west? Do you want to be north? Whatever. There's a lot of different little variables, but you want people that are good teammates, that are going to do whatever you ask them to do, that work hard in the summer. Like, you can put your equipment away and focus on your body, that care about your nutrition, that care about, what are your priorities in life? What do you want to do? Do you want to play NHL or just play for fun?
Yeah.
Like that's we want people that want to make it to the next level. That's going to help us coach them up, not coach them down.
And Cory, you might not know this exact answer, but Miles, I want to ask this. When you look at your roster and you talked about Miles' kids playing high school, not having that D1 offer yet, maybe not wanting to go play juniors, what is the percentage of your roster that you could maybe say you got commits after they went the junior route? So before they graduated from high school, how many kids are you guys getting after that?
I don't know that number, but I do know the majority of our freshmen that were our first recruiting class, now they're sophomores right now. I think almost all of them maxed out their junior career, and they didn't get offers until that last year. And it's interesting because everybody wants to get theirs in high school, or wants to get it after their first. They had a great game in junior hockey, and they're like, "Well, my phone's not ringing."
Yeah,
it's a process, and it's no dig on the kids at all. It's like, and we know that some teams swing at kids quickly, but the reality is there's a lot of good players out there, and it's not just in Minnesota. Like I think we have the most commits from Minnesota, but we also have a Swede. We have another Swede coming next year. We got a handful of Canadians. Like if we swing at a kid and they don't want us, then that's just not the right fit. Then it's good that we figure that out now. And some of our best recruiting has been some of the guys we've missed. So we've swung at some guys and missed at them. They've gone elsewhere, and we've just kind of seen what they've done, and we're like, whew, that was a close call. But I'm just telling you, like, you want to find the right fit.
Yeah.
And it's going to be for both. So if we really love a kid but he doesn't really like it, and we kind of force that, it's not the right fit. So we'll move to the next. And there's so many guys out there. There's so many good players. and they're not just from Minnesota. So if the Minnesota kids feel like this isn't the right spot, that's okay. Like,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, St. Thomas is a pretty good spot.
Talk about how important it is for a kid to be honest with you when you are asking those questions, because I think a lot of people
You're right.
out there are just giving you what you
they
might
wanna
want to hear. Yeah, so
For sure. And we have to, that's part of our job too, is to filter through that. So that's why we got to get to know the high school coaches. We got to get to know their baseball coaches. We got to get to know the people that are 1 degree away from them to find out really if that's a quality kid. Because it just takes one call, and it takes, and it's not a dig on that kid, because when you're a young person, you can still grow out of it and learn to be a more higher character kid. So it's just a journey. It's a whole journey with the kid. And if it is a kid that we've committed and it doesn't work out, well, that's just the way it is. And those are conversations we'll have later down the road. But through that whole process, we're going to build relationships with that kid. So if we do commit him early, then we're going to be in their camp until he graduates with us.
yeah.
And we'll go hand in hand with them.
I think I have one more. I wanted to ask about advisors, and much more common now. Ben's an advisor, so I don't want to say, usually we kind of butt heads with high school coaches and advisors, but just talk about like the relationship the role that they play, and how you view all that.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, and it has evolved over time, and I just think that there's so much information for young kids to know about the process, and the process is the hardest part, right? It's
Yep.
and there's no right or wrong answer, and for me, it's just been a situation that if a player does have an advisor, great, we'll talk to him, but we want to talk to the kid. We want to get to know the kid, and for us, where there are kids that are further away, maybe it's more necessary, but the Minnesota kid, it's easy to go right to the high school coach, and we'll talk to the advisor for sure, but it's I don't know if you need it until you get to a certain point, but it is a kind of a muddy world to navigate when you get to junior hockey, and where to go. Who are the good coaches at junior? Is it a good organization? Do I need to leave early? Do I need to stay? There's a lot of questions. There's some skill development questions too that advisors can help with now too, that that we don't always know the answers to, and can help parents have some inside information.
So now that we've done all these questions, now I got to ask more of a personal question, Miles, and that's,
Okay.
I had the opportunity to be on the ice coaching Luke as an assistant coach in high school, and you got Casey coming in next year, is that correct? Mm-hmm. So you'll have Casey and Luke both there. When do we get to find out where Bodie ends up? And is he following his brother's footsteps, or will Bodie be donning the maroon and gold at some point in time?
Boy, I don't know. It's a tough question. You're gonna have to ask Rico that one. But no, it's been a real joy to be on the bench with Luke this first 2 years, and I coach the D. I don't really see him much until Thanksgiving and Christmas. I let him do his deal. I don't want to have anything to wreck his college experience. So he does his deal. I got my D. I coach my D, and I'm proud that he's had the opportunity to play, and I'm happy that Rico was given an opportunity. He's got great opportunities his first 2 years. So Casey, it'll be another deal, but once again, he's with the forwards, and
Yep.
I'm going to let him do his deal. I don't want to intercept with anything, and for Rico to go full bore after these two boys, they're two players for us.
Yeah.
And
It's awesome.
they fit perfect into what we're trying to build. And they're the skill guys, and we've got some big trees around them that kind of protect them and help them and work with them. And as far as Bodie goes, I don't know. It's up to him. He does his deal. But, I'd love to see his development, and as a dad, it's actually almost more fun to watch him as a defenseman than watch my other two as forwards. Forwards, they can score. Defensemen just defend.
Yeah.
So he's been doing a great job and enjoying the process. So it's fun.
Awesome.
I don't have anything else. This has been awesome.
Yeah.
You got anything else?
No, I don't. Thanks for joining us, Cory. This was awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it. See ya.